I actually cried last week watching a video about the Cincinnati Bengals. And there was a moment of what's wrong with me? And then there was also this moment where it clicked of like, yeah, you love this stuff. This is you care about something. Something actually moved you to tears. That's a good thing. We'll talk about that today. Welcome in. Hi, hello, and welcome in to the Ball Don't Lie podcast, episode number 172. My name is Austin Elmore. Thank you for being here. I hope this is working. I'm doing things a little bit different, trying out some new software. Part of the reason why I wasn't making a podcast last week, but we are back, and I am thrilled to be back. It is Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 60 coming up this Sunday between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. I'll give my thoughts on that game in just a little bit. And at the end of the show, I will tell you why and what I cried about watching a video last week about the Cincinnati Bengals. But first, some other things. As far as the Bengals are concerned, it's very quiet right now. We know that there were multiple representatives from the Bengals down at the Senior Bowl in Alabama. We saw that there was some good defensive line play by a couple of young players, including a guy that I would keep an eye out on by the name of Caleb Banks, a defensive tackle from Florida that I think turned a lot of heads at the Senior Bowl and somebody who very well could end up being the Bengals pick, whether that be way up early in the first round or early in the second round at pick number 41. We'll get into a lot of other draft stuff later on this offseason, especially with the combine coming up in the next couple of weeks. But right now, that's the first name. That's the name I'm thinking about at the moment is Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle out of Florida. We know that the Bengals were in Alabama and as many teams were scouting and getting ready for the Senior Bowl and beginning that process. We also know that the Bengals asked and have talked to, I don't know that asked is the right word, but have talked to running back Chase Brown about a contract extension. This was confirmed by Chase through multiple interviews. I think he and T. Higgins went through a round of interviews on behalf of Bounty recently, and he had talked about and was very open about the fact that he wants to be in Cincinnati and that the Bengals and his agent have talked about a contract extension. That's one of those things. We've said it all off season. It would be a layup for the Bengals to get done. Sign Dalton Reisner, sign DJ Turner to an extension, sign Chase Brown to an extension, get these things done. And so hopefully by the time the Super Bowl ends and as we get towards the new league year at the beginning of March, we'll get some of these things done for the Bengals. It's good that they are talking to Chase Brown. So other than that, there really hasn't been much going on. I do want to talk about the Pro Bowl and pontificate about that for just a minute, and I'll do that coming up in just a second. But let's start with the coaches, and specifically in the AFC North. All the coaching vacancies in the NFL have been filled. All the coaching vacancies in the AFC North have been filled. Last week on the episode, I talked about continuity and complacency, and especially how now that all these other teams in the AFC, Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and so on, are getting new head coaches, and the Bengals are keeping the continuity in place with Zach Taylor and with Joe Burrow, that should give the Bengals an advantage, and it further increases the importance of this offseason to get it right, especially with the schedule that the Bengals have next year, to be able to get this thing going and get back to the playoffs. So here are the hires that were made. The Ravens hired Jesse Minter to be their new head coach. He was an assistant with them years ago. He's been the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers. You might remember Jesse Minter, if you're an Ohio State fan, as being part of Jim Harbaugh's staff at Michigan, who was part of the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. Jesse Minter is one of those guys who currently has a show cause penalty by the NCAA because of his role in all of that. That being said, he's a really good, bright, young defensive mind. He was with the Ravens in Baltimore way back when Mike Macdonald, who's now coaching the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, was there as well. The Ravens are trying to duplicate the Mike Macdonald to Seattle thing in Baltimore. And so far, he's hired a really good staff. I think Baltimore will be formidable very quickly. The Browns have hired Todd Monken, who used to be the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. There was a thought that Monken would be going with John Harbaugh to the New York Giants to be their offensive coordinator, but that's not the case. Matt Nagy got that job, and Todd Monken has taken the Browns head coaching job. Now, what's funny about the Browns is that this whole thing was based around keeping Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator, and understandably so. They have a great defense, and he's a great coordinator. But it came down to Todd Monken and Jim Schwartz to be the final candidates for this coaching staff, for this head coaching position. And when they go to Todd Monken, Jim Schwartz is like, screw this, I'm out. Peace, deuces, however you want to say it. And he's not happy. That being said, he's still under contract for a year. If I were him, I wouldn't want to work for the Browns after being passed over for the head coaching job. I wouldn't want to come back in there and be the defensive coordinator. So leave it to the Browns to screw it up the way that they did. But Todd Monken is a good offensive coach. They have already good defensive players in place. I'm not saying Jim Schwartz is expendable, but I don't know that it's a huge uphill battle if Jim Schwartz is to go. Speaking personally, as a Bengals fan, I hope Jim Schwartz goes and finds success somewhere else because I'm tired of him being with the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns hired Monken, and the Pittsburgh Steelers hired Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, the former Super Bowl winning head coach of the Green Bay Packers. He's a Pittsburgh native. He was emotional in his press conference, understandably so. When you finally become the head coach of the team that you grew up rooting for, it's got to mean something to you. It was cool to see Mike McCarthy's entire family there and the emotion that he felt. I've always kind of made fun of Mike McCarthy just because I think he's easy to make fun of and just kind of a funny guy. But I was impressed with him when the Cowboys were on Hard Knocks a few years ago. It's hard to deny the success that he's had both in Dallas and in Green Bay. It's also crazy to think that he's going to be a head coach 3 times, and the third chance doesn't happen very often for a lot of head coaches. And especially you're going to be a head coach for a third franchise that is among the best franchises or the most highly sought after and most respected tentpole franchises in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really impressive stuff from Mike McCarthy. As far as what it means, he wasn't a coach last year. He's got very similar success and history to that of Mike Tomlin. It has been a while since there's been a deep run in the playoffs by a Mike McCarthy team. I don't think Steelers fans are excited about this. Now, I think he'll improve their offense. I think whatever they decide to do at quarterback, and maybe this helps bring Aaron Rodgers back, and who knows, but they'll be better on offense. And if they get a young quarterback in there, I believe in Mike McCarthy to be able to develop that quarterback, certainly more than the way Mike Tomlin has done. So I think it's a little bit lame and a little bit misguided to call Mike McCarthy Mike Tomlin light or Mike Tomlin 2.0. I don't think that's right. I think it is a good hire, not a great hire. I don't know that they're going to just take leaps and bounds above where they've been. So all of that to say, the only thing that I fear in the AFC North now that this has happened is Jesse Minter and the Baltimore Ravens, just because of the talent that they already have, the defensive scheme that they've run. Now, the Bengals, I believe the Ravens also hired Anthony Weaver to be their defensive coordinator. Was that the Ravens? Yeah. And the Bengals just crushed his defense when he was with the Miami Dolphins just a few weeks ago. But the coaching staff and the talent top to bottom in Baltimore is really good. I think they're the quickest to go right back into the conversation to be winning multiple or double-digit games and to have a chance at the AFC North next year when you put Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh all in the mix. I think it'll be Cincinnati and Baltimore as the favorites going in to next year. But it's only February, so who knows how things will change. Let's change over to another topic really briefly, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's been a lot of talk about Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, and the reports coming out earlier this week as well that Robert Kraft is not going to be a Hall of Famer as well. So let me explain this to you for those who maybe don't understand. There is basically a subcategory of candidates that are decided upon by the senior committee. These are senior candidates who have been on the the ballot for a while, or maybe have been skipped over, and they're brought back to light, and their cases are presented, and they're guys that have retired long ago. And there's also two other categories. It's players, coaches, and contributors that are all lumped into this same category. And so an owner is considered a contributor, and that would be where Robert Kraft would fall in. There are several owners already in the NFL. For example, Eddie DeBartolo Jr. of the San Francisco 49ers, Jerry Jones from the Dallas Cowboys, and others. Excuse me. Coffee is delicious today. And so Robert Kraft, what he's done before Belichick got there, during Belichick, and after Belichick, including playing in the Super Bowl this weekend, I thought he was a lock to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this time around, but he's not. And Belichick, a lot of people were upset about this because this is his first year of eligibility. He's widely considered the greatest coach of all time. He's got many Super Bowl rings, both as a head coach and as an assistant, the longtime Patriots dynasty, and so on. Well, come to find out, there was at least 11 voters, because you have to get 50 votes to get in. There was at least 11 voters or you have to get 80% of the votes to get in. And that meant that 39 people voted for Bill Belichick and at least 11 didn't. So you would have had to get 50 to get 80%. And so, or you had to get 40 to get 80%. And so, because of that, Bill Belichick doesn't get in because he gets at least 39 votes, or at most 39 votes. I'm not helping explain this. You have to get 40 votes to get elected. Belichick didn't get them. He at the most got 39, which means there's at least 11 people that didn't vote for Belichick, which sent the internet into a tizzy because he wasn't elected. And I understand. I mean, when you think of Pro Football Hall of Famers, when you think of great coaches of all time, you think of Bill Belichick. The issue is not his candidacy. And by the way, when this happened, I wasn't surprised. I thought that because of the cheating scandals, Spygate, Deflategate, got in trouble in 2020 for the Bengals. He filmed the Bengals sideline illegally. Like, he's a curmudgeon. He treated the media like shit. He's just not a nice guy by any stretch of the imagination. So I wasn't surprised that he didn't get in. And it's also not surprising that he didn't get in when you consider the process. Not only is he going up against a contributor in Robert Kraft, he's also going up against three other senior players. Ken Anderson, longtime Bengals quarterback, L.C. Greenwood from the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s, and Roger Craig of the San Francisco 49ers of the 80s. And the thing is, if you think Kraft and Belichick are going to get in at some point, then you'll say, okay, I'm going to shift my votes to these guys because this is their last opportunity to get in as players. And I think that's what happened. And so I think more people voted for Roger Craig and L.C. Greenwood and Ken Anderson, and that took away votes from Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. And, last year they did this and only one person got in. It was Sterling Sharp, longtime Green Bay Packer. I think we're going to get something similar this year. I don't think that Ken Anderson's going to get in. I don't think that Robert Kraft, and we know obviously Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick aren't going to get in. It might be just L.C. Greenwood. It might be just Roger Craig. Either way, there are people that are going to be disappointed, and Bengals fans are going to be absolutely disappointed, especially if Ken Anderson doesn't get in and it's a Steeler and a 49er that get in ahead of him. The problem is the process. It should be, is this person a Hall of Famer, yes or no? Not, well, I got to vote for this guy because it's his last opportunity, or I'm going to wait to vote for this guy because he'll get in later on. That shouldn't be how it works. There's clearly an issue when it comes to the Pro Football Hall of Fame voting, which, by the way, is independent of the National Football League, has nothing to do with one another. They work in conjunction, clearly, and they partner on a lot of things, but the NFL doesn't have any control over this. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has been heavily criticized for it, and they should be, and I hope that there's some meaningful change that comes with this negative press that's happened with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft both should be in. Ken Anderson should be in. I don't get the feeling that any of those three are actually going to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. I hope I'm wrong about Ken Anderson, but I have a hard time believing it. We'll find out on Thursday night. The NFL honors happen Thursday night. Well, then they'll announce the MVP and the comeback player of the year and the coach of the year and all that stuff. And they'll also announce the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026, which could feature another Bengal in Willie Anderson, who was one of the most dominant right tackles of all time, one of the most overlooked players of all time, a true beast. I hope Big Willie gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That would be a nice consolation prize for Bengals fans who've been asking for Ken Anderson to get in for a long time. Um, there's something else that's been bothering me. When I first restarted this podcast a little over a year ago, I did an episode about change and how change is hard and how even though it's difficult, you still got to do it, and you can learn a lot about yourself and about football and about life by changing. Well, what's also difficult is dealing with the change. If you're someone that doesn't like change, you are maybe resistant to it. You're a little closed minded. You're protective of yourself and your feelings and whatnot. And when things change, you don't like it. What I'm talking about here is the Pro Bowl. Well, this is just bothering me a lot. The Pro Bowl hasn't been a highly competitive event for 10 or 15 years. The old days of the best players gathering and playing a full contact game and it being the week after the Super Bowl and all the stuff that comes with it and guys taking it super seriously, those days are over. The NFL screwed up when they tried to monetize the Pro Bowl. They moved it away from Hawaii. It used to be a nice little vacation and a getaway for those guys who earned it. And now they've moved it around and they've changed the dates and they've put it in these different cities and they've done all these different things and it just hasn't hit the same. And guys also don't want to play in a game, and the player safety aspect is a big part of that. So, to the NFL's credit, they're leaning in on flag football and they're investing in flag football. And the NFL has done a great job with flag football leagues across the United States, especially in the state of Ohio. It's being sanctioned as a state championship sport for boys and girls in the state of Ohio, which I think is awesome. And like the NFL is leaning into flag football to the point it's even going to be an Olympic sport when the Olympics come to Los Angeles in 2028. These are all good things. I think the NFL leaning into flag football with its Pro Bowlers is a good thing. I mean, I watched the thing last night. I was entertained by it. I was laughing. I was impressed. I learned a little bit about the flag football rules because they have the actual NFL flag officials there. And you get to see these guys have fun. You get to see their personalities. Now, in the past, they've done dodgeball and skill competitions and all that stuff, and they've done away with that. It's just a flag football game on the Tuesday, the week of the Super Bowl, which is good. And you get everybody under one roof. You have a lot of fun. You play a game, and that's it. And the final score was like 66-52. You see Jamar Chase playing safety. You see Garrett Bowles catching touchdown passes, the lineman from the Denver Broncos. You see Joe Burrow having fun. And it bothers me that so many guys don't want to do it. Number one, the NFL should pay them to do it. Number two, they should make it mandatory for them to do it if they are elected to be a Pro Bowler, unless they have an injury that prevents them from playing completely. I mean, Micah Parsons has a torn ACL with the Green Bay Packers. He was voted a Pro Bowler. He showed up to the Pro Bowl. He's driving around on a scooter and supporting his teammates and having fun, and you're seeing his personality. Like, that's what it's supposed to be about. CJ Stroud said no. Other guys said no. I mean, to the point where Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco were the other quarterbacks. And then Joe Burrow, who missed most of the season, was one of the quarterbacks. Like, I don't understand why players, especially now that it's in San Francisco or it's in the Super Bowl city, which everybody comes on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into the Super Bowl city for media, for Radio Row, and they promote their products and they get a bunch of money. The NFL should pay them. These guys can double dip with whatever product they're endorsing on Radio Row the next day. They get a little getaway. It's the week of the Super Bowl. Most of these big time names are going to be there anyway. Just do it. It's 3 hours of your time on a Tuesday night, and you're getting paid to do it. I don't understand why more guys, especially when it's just a flag football game, you're not being asked to do a bunch of physically demanding stuff. You can just have fun. You get to meet kids and sign autographs and do interviews. And like, it can be so much fun. And there's two parts to this. The players need to just suck it up and do it and have a little bit of fun and quit being curmudgeons. And the NFL should make them do it. And number two, fans need to stop bitching and moaning about how much the Pro Bowl has fallen off. Understand what it is. It's changed. It's just a flag football game now, and guys are having fun. That can be entertaining. The old days aren't coming back. It's just not going to happen. And so enjoy it for what it is. Tune in and out, use it as background noise. Don't watch it at all. Nobody can do whatever you want. But like, we got to stop bitching about the Pro Bowl. It's a fun event. People like it. It's not that deep. Please stop bitching about the Pro Bowl. All right. What else? Did I have anything else in there? Yeah, the personalities, the old days aren't coming back, the impact of flag football. Just lean into it. Have fun. Micah Parsons was my favorite part. All right, got about 10 minutes left here. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60 coming up this week in Santa Clara, San Jose, San Francisco, wherever the hell they play that thing. And it's a rematch of Super Bowl 49 between the Seahawks and the Patriots. Two very different franchises now than they were then, understandably so, over the course of 10 or 11 years. And I've been kind of torn on who I want to root for because I love Mike Vrabel. Like, he's one of my favorite people in football. He's an Ohio State guy. He's just the way he approaches his teams and team building and who he is as a person. Like, he's just everything that I want in my football coach. And so for that reason, I want to root for him. I also want to root for New England because it's not the evil empire Patriots of the past. It's not Brady. It's not Belichick. This is a much different group of players that's a lot more likable and have built this team in the right way. And number one, I think it would piss off Bill Belichick if they won, which would be really funny. I think it would kind of piss off Tom Brady too, which would kind of be funny. And I just think it would be an interesting story and a credit to Robert Kraft and that entire organization for the way that they scrapped it and rebuilt it and got right back to the Super Bowl. I think this is the 11th or 12th Super Bowl appearance for the Patriots, which is the most of all time. That, on the other hand, is kind of why I don't want to root for them. When you look at the amount of championships that have been won by Boston teams, whether it's the Patriots, the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Bruins, over the last 25 years, I would like to see somebody else win. I just feel like it would mean a little bit more to a team like Seattle. Seattle has one Super Bowl. They've been to two or three. And this is a different group. The Sam Darnold story of having been the top pick in the draft and failing in New York and bouncing around to San Francisco, to Minnesota, to Carolina, and now being where he is now. The story of Sam Darnold, that redemption story, would be one of the best stories written in sports. And I would love to see that happen. I also just think that the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl would mean a lot more to a city like Seattle. Keep in mind, their NBA team was taken away from them. They became the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Mariners have struggled to get over the hump, including this past baseball season. It feels like maybe they're never going to get there. Seattle is a good sports city. It's a good sports town. Those fans are rabid about the Seattle Seahawks. I think it would be an awesome story. I also think it would be interesting to see a young defensive-minded head coach like Mike Macdonald win the Super Bowl. And I just think that that would mean a lot to that city. And so for that reason, I think I'm going to end up rooting for Seattle. As I'm doing this, I truthfully don't know who I'm going to be rooting for. And maybe I won't end up rooting for anyone, and I'll just try to enjoy the game. As far as a prediction, I'm going to say Seattle wins Super Bowl 60, 27-17. And the narrative on Monday, it'll be about Sam Darnold, but it'll also be about, because stupid people will say this, can Drake May get the Patriots over the hump? I don't think Drake May is going to play very good in the Super Bowl. And, you know, to finish out and to rewind to the very beginning of the video when I talked about the video that made me cry. You talk about it meaning a lot to a city. Last week, we passed the 4-year anniversary of the Bengals winning the AFC Championship game and going to Super Bowl 56. And there's a video out there that was put together by the Cincinnati Enquirer, Cincinnati.com, and it is a collection of all the videos together of reactions to Bengals fans, whether that be just watching at home with their family or at a party somewhere or out on the street or whatever it might be, watching Evan McPherson kick that field goal to send the Bengals to the Super Bowl. And the collection and the reactions of all those people together. It means it shows how much it meant to us at that time to feel that magic, to feel that moment, to know that we had a chance to go to the Super Bowl as Bengals fans. And that was 4 years ago. They sniffed it with the AFC Championship game the following year. But that feels really far away right now. The idea that they could get back to the Super Bowl, the deep playoff run, having been 3 years without making the playoffs, it just feels so far away. And looking back on that time in my life and those memories and those moments, and I remember doing my best to like soak it all in the best you can because you never know when you're going to get this feeling again. I know that that video has existed. I've avoided it like the plague in the 4 years since because I don't want to be reminded of the heartbreak that came with Super Bowl 56. But I watched it again last week on the 4 year anniversary. I cried. And I cried not because the Bengals have missed the playoffs for the last 3 years. I cried because of how much it means to the people here. Now, I went to Green Bay this year to watch the Bengals, and I wrote this on my Instagram and I talked about it on the podcast. What I love about the NFL is how much people like really deeply care, how ingrained it is into so many of our daily lives. Like it's a way to gather, it's a way to bond, it's a way to spend time, spend money, spend effort. It's something to believe in, it's something to do. Like there's a pride that comes with being a football fan, whether you're a Bengals fan or a Titans fan, Lord help you, or a Chiefs fan or whatever it might be. Like football is in so many parts of our culture now in the United States of America. And when you have a team that goes on a run and has a chance to win the Super Bowl, and the impact that has on a group of people, especially a community that has had a lot of heartbreak and a lot of failure and a lot of frustration, it's just a reminder, at least it was a reminder for me, that it's not just me who gives a shit. Like it's not just me who cares deeply. It's also like this means a lot to a lot of people, not only in Cincinnati, but across the country. And I cannot wait. And I hope and I pray that that moment comes back around for the Bengals and they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl week is tough for me because it is the end of the season. And while there is no true off season in the NFL, it is tough because I love football and not going to have it for the next several months going into September. It's going to be a long time, but I am excited for the Super Bowl and excited for maybe one day the Bengals going back and actually winning the Super Bowl. That does it for me. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Ball Don't Lie podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. Please share it with somebody wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Google, anywhere you get your podcast. Please follow it, like it, share it with somebody. Leave a review if you haven't done that in a while. I would really appreciate it. You can also follow me on any and all social media at Auty Elmore. That's AUTYELMORE. You can also hear me weekdays on ESPN 1530. I co-host a show called Tony Pike's Cincy 360. You can listen anywhere via the iHeartRadio app as well. Talk to you again next week. We'll recap the Super Bowl. We'll start looking at some draft prospects and so much more. Thanks so much for listening. And how do I end these things? That's right. Have fun. Be safe. Go Bucks.